welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. Been a little while since we had a no-gi guy or girl on the show, so we thought it is about time to do it. We love our 10th Planet friends here, and today we have the head coach of 10th Planet South Melbourne joining us. We have black belt Josh Pecastaing. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Thanks, guys. It's a pleasure to be on.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So with were you white belt 10th Planet and then you went to black belt? Because I know, you come and train at Absolute every once in a while, and where you were.
Yeah.
So what is your journey? Has it been mostly 10th Planet and then you just kind of creonch around the place? What's the story with you, bro?
I've actually been around for quite a while. So I started with karate, stuff like that, as most people did.
Yeah.
And then I got into actually Machado first. So I was in the gi up to blue belt.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Eddie and we made the change to no gi. So I started again as a white belt.
Right.
Why was that? Can I ask? They didn't recognize your belt?
No, Eddie did recognize the belt, but I just wanted to start again because I felt like this is back in 2006 when I first met Eddie, and I felt like the gi game to the no gi game was so different. And when I went there to train, like his guys were just going through me, especially like even like white blues, and I felt like my no gi game wasn't up to a blue belt level, if that makes sense. Like the gi game, yes, but the no gi wasn't. No. So I was happy to start again at white belt.
Wow.
Then it took me like up to 2009 to get my blue belt, sort of thing. So that's what I mean. So I kind of hanged around a little while there, but then over the years, then I just kind of continued. But so yeah, basically I went from white belt to black belt in no gi. Yeah.
Wow, man. First of all, that is amazing. Like for me, the thought of giving up my hard-earned belts and demoting myself, like I actually think my coach would get pissed off if I did that as well, because I think they sit around going, oh, we can't promote him yet, so when they do, they're like, so if I was like, no, I'm going back now, I'm gonna go back to blue. But yeah, amazing.
It was just something that I just didn't feel right, if that makes sense, because we made the change to no gi. I just didn't feel right because I knew not new, but yeah, I was happy just to, it was a whole new system.
Yeah.
Even though, like John Jack still supports 10th Planet, all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. It was a whole new system. So I just felt right for me to start back away. Man. That's all. Yeah.
It's powerful. So, it's real powerful.
Yeah. So I did that. So, but it's been a good ride, and I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't change it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And tell us, Josh, how you discovered jiu-jitsu in the first place. How did you get into it?
Well, I always did martial arts with Frank Barker. So I always did martial arts there as a kid. At 11, I started with typical karate, kickboxing, all that sort of stuff. And then as we went on, we sort of decided to discover BJJ, or we saw that in the in our martial art, what missed was the groundwork. We could do judo throws, we could do kickboxing, all that sort of stuff. But when it came to the ground, we were just completely lost. And I think from there, basically started where we were like, oh, we need to branch out and start to look at what this jiu-jitsu thing is, and especially with the UFC. The UFC hit in, especially the early UFCs when Hoyts Gracie just demolished everyone. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that probably got into it after that. Those UFCs. But that was like where we kind of saw like, well, what is this thing? So we started to get into it, and I'll be honest with you, the more I got into it, the more I sort of fell in love with it. And I started to let go of the karate, started to let go of this and that, and I just concentrated on the jiu-jitsu side. Yeah. So it was literally that. I've been doing martial arts for I think this year is going to be like 28 years.
Wow.
So yeah, I got like multiple black belts and other styles, but I don't really practice that anymore. I still, jump in and do the kickboxing every so often.
Yep.
But not the karate side. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. That's how we started the jiu-jitsu journey, and then like I said, got my blue, went to Eddie, met Eddie, thought he was, just a really good guy, and liked the no-gi, liked how he ran things, and everything was a bit different, you know, especially with lockdown and rubber guard and this and that and things I've never seen. And I just took a liking to it, and that was basically it. Yeah.
The whole 10th planet thing fascinates me. Like, I've never been to a 10th planet class, but
You're more than welcome to come, man, anytime.
man, I'd love to. I would absolutely love to. I'd love to kind of see what it's all about. But like, for people who don't really understand, like, what is going to be different to going to a no-gi, or 10th planet's all no-gi for starters, right? But what am I going to get if I come to a 10th planet class versus going to a conventional BJJ class?
At the start, I think there was a big difference because we had things like, you know, the lockdown, rubber guard, the truck, couple positions that we played a lot of. And as jiu-jitsu has now evolved, a lot of other no-gi schools has basically implemented it into their game. And I'm not saying that we, when I say we, I don't want to say like 10th Planet invented it, because, you know, 10th Planet is all about taking techniques that work and putting into the system, basically. But I feel like now overall, everyone has a lot more access to different moves and different techniques. So it's not too different, to be honest with you. The difference is, the main difference would be, is that we play a lot of lockdown. Not everyone, but like there is a lot more stronger rubber guard playing. And possibly, I would just have to say, like the truck as well. Right. You know, going from all fours to the truck, or, you know, to the back and so on. I say they're the main like technical side things, but otherwise, besides that, it's probably just how the classes run. You know, more than anything.
So what does that look like? How is the class run differently?
Well, we have like a curriculum. So our curriculum has like 8 sets. We call them warm-ups, but they're more like flow drills. And we have like 8 sets of flow drills. And every day is a different flow drill, and they go on rotation. So, you know, we got like say like week 1 would be like, you know, A, B, C, D. Week 2 would be E, F, G, H. And then week 3 the order swaps. You know, it'd be like B, A, D, C. It's all about swapping. It's like an 8-week rotation. So if you're the type of guy that comes in, like, say, you know, Monday, Wednesday, you're not always getting the same thing. You'll see over the 2 months, you'll see like,
that's very cool.
Different things. And because we have this curriculum, it's just like flow drills. We've taken basically like 90% of the most common techniques and reactions, and we've put them into like a flow drill, and it makes it easier for people to learn. So instead of you coming in and learning, you know, today we're going to learn a triangle, and then tomorrow we're going to learn a kimura, and then, you know, the next day we're going to learn a mountain escape. We just have something where it's all sort of linked together. And each day has
an example, Josh, of what that would be like.
Like let's just say you came into to one of our classes, and it happened to be our C day. Our C day is like a pressure passing flow. So all the exercises we do have to do with pressure passing, and it sort of works that way. Like we have our set warm-ups, so we do that. In the beginners, it's just basically the warm-ups that I just explained. In the advanced, I run it where we do our set warm-up, but then I do teach a technique. And the technique usually is, I run by themes. So I do like, you know, a month theme, and it might be like, you know, this month will be passing, next month will be chokes, or this month will be arm bars, or, you know, mount escapes, or, you know, guard work. So we do themes, and then I'll teach for the whole month. The technique will be something around the theme. And then we do, you know, live drilling, and then we roll. So basically, it's just, that's the way we sort of run it. So a lot of times we get visitors come through, and they can handle most of in the advanced class, they can handle most of the class. It's just when it comes to the flow drills, obviously that's where they're going to be lost. It's just because they're not used to seeing so many techniques put together in one big flow.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's basically all.
Yeah. No, that's
but
cool.
I find that with the flow drills, what it does is, if the person sticks to it, especially for beginners, it makes them learn at a quicker rate. That makes sense. So it's just basically them trying to get muscle memory, you know, behind the move. That's basically it.
And do you get many people coming in from other academies and joining you kind of halfway through their journey, and then having to sort of like learn this way, or more people coming in from the beginning and then you're setting them up?
I'd have to say probably more people from the beginning. But we do get people that have trained like elsewhere, and then I've always wanted to train. They come in and always want to try 10th Planet, and then they try it out, and then they're happy to stick around. So I do have quite a few that have come from other academies, or from interstate, and they come in already ranked. They could be a blue or purple or brown, and they just sort of like the no-gi system, and they like the 10th Planet system, and they're happy to join in. But most sort of, how it is. Most people, especially if they come from in Melbourne, if they've got a club already, a lot of them stick to your own sort of clubs. They're like people cross train, and there's nothing wrong with cross training. I think cross training is fantastic. Like I do it. Like I was, cross training at Absolute.
Yeah.
And so I still cross train at Absolute, and I cross train at AET. So I still go to Australian elite team. So I think cross training is fantastic, but most people will come in for a bit and then go back, to their original. So that's what sort of happens.
Yeah, I'm interested. I mean, you are an active cross trainer, and but yeah, you were quite regular at Absolute. So I'd love to know a bit more about like your philosophy on cross training. Like I mean, as far as I recall, like for a few years, you were there like weekly.
Yes.
You were already a black belt, or maybe you were still a brown belt actually.
The brown belt.
You're a brown belt.
Yeah.
So tell us about like how you cross train. How do you negotiate? Like especially like 10th Planet. Like what were you just testing out 10th Planet against other systems? Against conventional BJJ, making sure you were getting that mix. Like what was the philosophy behind it all? Talk a bit about that.
So because with bicycle, so this year is like 10 years we've been around like bicycle. And because I started cross training more because as like when you coach, sometimes I can't get the rounds in, or I've got people getting ready for fights, so I have to sort of coach them. And I first started cross training because I just needed the roles. I just needed to be able to get some training in, especially because I wanted in the future I wanted my black belt. So I needed the roles, and then I could get the roles here, but not all the time. So that's when I started to source out and think, where can I go? Where can I go to roll? And Absolute was close. AT, I've known them for like 16 years. I've known Ninos for years.
Right.
So, I thought, they're probably the two best schools to go cross train at. So I started to cross train, and it wasn't for me to go test my the 10th Planet skill. It was more just for me to get bodies basically to roll with.
I see.
And then, but while I was there, I also wanted to see, is my 10th Planet game working against people that either don't know it too well, or maybe they do know it, or can they stop it, that sort of thing. And that's when I discovered that, part of it worked, part of it didn't, or I had to alter a couple of things. But it was never for me to go and sort of test the 10th Planet skill. It was more to test my skill, against top level people. And that's what I did. And I'll be honest with you, when I was coming, especially so I was doing like 2 sessions a week. I think one at CVD and then one at St Kilda. And then I was doing one at AET too. That was great. I used to love it. Just get in there, get some work done. And it was good to sort of just to meet different people, different community. I mean, we're all the same community, but you know what I mean? Like different club. And just to meet different people and just sort of expand a little bit, I never really wanted people to feel like, 10th Planet, they stuff those guys. I wanted to make them realize like, no, we're actually like just like you, we're just here, we just got passion of jiu-jitsu.
It's like this Sydney versus Melbourne kind of thing.
Yeah. So I didn't want that, especially not at this club. So I was like, I thought that cross training is the best, and if people get to meet me, they get to see that I'm pretty chilled. And all I want to do is just improve jiu-jitsu for here in Australia, basically.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
So that's why I literally got into cross training. But at the same time, obviously, I was testing myself.
Yeah.
In a way.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. And then I get guys like Cooper, where he was a purple belt, and I was like, God damn, this kid. It's just
we
like
we all say,
tomorrow.
God damn this kid, man. Don't worry.
We feel that.
Just a couple of things like that. I was like, all right, cool. But no, that's all I did. And I must admit, they were good times. It was really good going there and training. And Tiago's always been like, even like Tiago, Lucky, and they've always been lovely to me and friendly. So I never felt like it was ever like hostile environment. I've been to some other clubs, you know, all over the world, and sometimes when you go, you know, from another club, it's a little bit hostile.
Yeah,
but I never felt that with those guys. So.
Just before we move on from the cross training thing, Kim, do you have a cross training question, Kim? Because I got one more.
No, not yet. No.
Okay, so like when you like you like continuously trained at 3 other clubs, basically. How do you, like, for the rest of us who want to do this, how do you negotiate the finances around that? Like, do you say to the club, I'll pay you casually, or do they say, don't worry about it most of the time? Or do you sweep the floors in the background while, you know, I don't know, like, how do you negotiate? Do you pay a full membership? Like, what's the deal?
So I've always, wherever I go, I've always offered to pay. I have no issue paying.
Yep.
I think I was just lucky enough that I always got along with the instructors, where I've known them for a very long time. And I've always been like friendly with them. Always been happy to help out in any way I can in the community. That most times, or anywhere I go, they sort of allow me just to train.
Amazing.
And not have to pay.
Yeah.
But I've always been able to pay. But it's just that they just allowed it. You know, as long as, obviously, if I was going to learn, because I just went to the pro classes where it's just basically training. There's no technical side being taught. If I went somewhere and there's a class being taught, then I obviously expect to be charged. But because I was sort of just training, those comp sessions, I never got charged. So I was lucky enough that you know, Ninos, Tiago, and Lockie are good enough to me to not charge me.
That's brilliant, man. I wonder how people did it.
Yeah, on that, I mean, I don't know if this is controversial, but I think that should be the case. Like you said you were a brown belt at the time. So in some ways, you know, you're an asset. You're helping the members there. So my thoughts are like, sorry to the lower belts or whatever, but it is actually in that club's favor to have someone, a visitor from another club that is a higher belt that can help the students, because you're actually helping them by being there. That's my thoughts.
And I'm not sure too either. Maybe because I own my own club, so it might have been different. I wasn't just a brown belt that trains at an academy. Maybe because I ran this school, they thought of, you know what I mean? Might have been a bit different. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but even if you were just a student, you know what I mean? I think to me that, like, I'm like you, when I travel, I always offer to pay. But sometimes I sort of think as well, not to blow my own trumpet, but like a female black belt is an asset for your club. To have me visiting there, like, hopefully I can give your students back as much as it would have cost them to charge me for the drop-in fee or whatever it is.
So true.
Chris, I agree 100%.
Yeah, Chris Arnott, his business model. I mean, he does. I've forgotten the name of it. I should know it. The Collingwood Jiu-Jitsu thing.
The Clifton Hill
Jiu-Jitsu. Thank you very much. I don't know why I just lost it for a moment, but anyway, he never charges brown and black belts. That's his club policy. And it's like they can train, you know, whenever, and he never charges them. And I think it's an interesting model that has merit, because, you know, by the time I've personally paid probably our club 20 grand, 30 grand over the years of training. So you know, I'm definitely wanting to give back all the time. Like, by the time, if someone's been in the club that long, they're probably doing more for the club than their membership is worth, I would say.
Yes.
And speaking of giving back, Josh, actually, he runs comps. Well, I know you sure did last year. I think you've run one again this year for higher belts, brown and black belts, where he actually gives prize money to them, which, Josh, do you want to talk at all about, have you got any of those coming up, or I know you had?
So the comp's run by Laura and myself. So Laura is my partner, my soon-to-be wife.
Yay! We love romance. We love BJJ romances. Even 10th Planet ones.
Laura's like one of our brown belts, and so we actually, like, we ran the school together. Laura and I run the academy together, and so with the comp side, like, we both run together, and we just had one recently. I think it was end of June, and we had one at the start of the year. We're hoping to have another one by the end of the year. And what we try to do with the comp is more keep it sub only. I know, like, especially in Melbourne, there's not many sub only. I don't think there's any sub only competitions. Mainly AFBJJ sort of points system. So we're trying to keep it sub only just to give a different experience to people. And when it comes to the brown blacks, as we go on, we're trying different things. Sometimes it's easy to get these super fights or create a comp like that, and sometimes it's not as easy. Because, there's people getting ready for ADCC or whatever it might be. So we're just trying different things at the moment. But the last comp we did was white, blue, and then we did purple to black together. Purple, brown, black together.
Nice.
But unfortunately, to believe it or not, we actually didn't get any purple, brown, or black wanting to do it. So I was kind of like a little bit disappointed. But it kind of happens. Yeah, so we are going to do another one, but we're trying a few different things to try to get it to appeal to everyone. And ideally, we'd love to have more higher ranks do it. And if we run a competition like we did last time, where you were in it, Kim, where we do offer prize money, we'd love to do that. But it's the fact that it's either our timing's wrong for the year whenever we do it, or it's just maybe it's just the different rule set. Sometimes it's not as attractive. That's all. But we're pushing to make it grow.
Great.
It could be there's almost not sure how to say, it's like almost too many comps. Like I know you're saying yours is sub only, but I know from back when I started, there was like 2 comps a year. There was Pan Pac or 3 Pan Pacs, Nationals, and Vics. And now it feels like there's a comp every weekend. So it's almost too many.
I'll say that that's definitely for sure. I was talking to someone recently from another club, and they were saying the same thing, that it seems like at the moment there's so many comps on that a lot of the competitions are running a little bit thin because of that reason. There's so many comps. Like I think I've seen like already another 2 or 3 new ones this year here in Victoria. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it does make it a bit harder to sometimes plan, because we try to get it where there's no other comps around. But you are right. There are comps popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
So, which I think is a good thing, because it does give people a chance.
Yeah.
Like it is good because it gives people a chance to compete, but more often. But financially, I'm not sure how that does for everyone too.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough one. But here's how I like it. It has to get to a level like my son's basketball. I think I pay about $500 a term for him to play basketball. Then I pay like $10 a week, and he can compete every weekend. Like somehow we have to get our sport to a level where it efficiently runs and everyone makes their profits and the competitors get their competition and the refs get paid well. Somehow we have to find a model that works where we can kind of deliver something similar, I believe, because I do think people should have the opportunity to compete every weekend if their bodies can handle it. I think that's going to give the best development,
and their wallets.
Wallets, But
so we try to keep our costs as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
So that's why we had like the early bird was like $55 to compete. Because look, I'm not having to go at any other comps, but when you go to a comp and you got to pay, let's say, $110 to $140,
or up to $400
for one match,
or $250, depending on what you're doing. We're not going to mention the comp, but or $250. It becomes, even for me, like I like to do those comps too, but then my brain goes, oh, really, for one roll? It's just, it could be more rolls, but it could possibly be one roll. It depends who you. So, so I understand that too. But if we had a platform like that where, price range was kept at a middle to lower price, I think it helps everyone out. But at the same time too, the staff that help out and so on need to get paid. I understand that too.
Absolutely.
So it's a bit of you got to find that balance. Yeah, that's the hardest part.
I agree. Yeah, that's amazing, man. And so what's like with you? Okay, here's my philosophy on what I picked up from what you said earlier about 10th Planet, right? Is it used to be different, but now because of this amazing website called YouTube, pretty much everyone's learning everything, right? Yeah. And so it's kind of like when I listen to people speak Russian or some other language, it's like blah, 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 Bluetooth, blah, 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 Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? Like we eventually we stop, like 10th Planet stops making up its own language for things, or like conventional jiu-jitsu adopts the 10th Planet. Like we'll say rubber guard and you guys will say, I don't know, seatbelt,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
whatever else. Right. So eventually it all just kind of merges in, and we give up trying to keep them separate, and they just take the best of each other and become one, one and the same. Is that where it's heading?
I think so. There's still going to be different sort of names, like, we call lockdown, and then you got like other people that call it Scorpion, or reverse Scorpion. I'm not sure exactly, but I've heard Scorpion before too. So there's always going to be like little differences that we might call this that, and you might call that that. But most of it now is starting to become more. I've realized more people understanding more the terms that we use. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think it can be quite confusing, when you have so many different names for an armbar or whatever it might be. So I think if everyone sort of understood or has the same knowledge of the names, it does make it easier to learn for overall and everyone. But I do understand that people sort of put their own flair or their own name onto techniques, and that's good as well too. I don't see it as a bad thing either way, because basically a good reason why say 10th Planet has some different names is because in competition, if I turn around and say defend the mount this sort of way, their opponent's going to hear it and then they're going to stop. But if I just call out a name and my student knows it, then hopefully their opponent doesn't know it, and it makes the setup easier.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's like when you compete against someone who speaks Portuguese and their coach is yelling at them in Portuguese.
Yeah, you get what I mean. Well, in a way, but I don't think it's a bad thing. But I have realized that things are definitely changing, because now, like, I go to other schools and I even get like people asking me questions about a sort of 10th Planet move, and they know the name. So I've always realized that, then maybe they must be looking at either YouTube, or they could be on Eddie's subscription, or these days, anywhere you look, basically, you're going to find some sort of jiu-jitsu. And I think that's the biggest part. The other biggest part is the fact that with technology now, you got instructionals wherever you want. So I'm not sure about you guys, but when I started, instructionals were either a book or a video, because I think when I started, still VHS was still around, and possibly a like a Higa Machado or a John Wheel DVD sort of thing, but where things now is a lot more accessible, so things are definitely changing, and I think it's good though. I think it's neat.
Definitely.
I never. Oh, sorry, go Kim. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, have you been to the 10th Planet headquarters much? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been there. So I've made about I've done about 14 trips to the US, and each time I go, I always train with Eddie. I just went recently, start of June.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks, and I train with Eddie. I'll go there quite a fair bit. I love going there. Number one, for the training, and obviously hang out with Eddie. And number two, it's great as an instructor to be able to be a student just for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And just do my own training and not have to worry about you know what I mean, sort of things. Just train.
Yeah.
What about the boogeyman? Have you trained with the boogeyman?
I've trained with him and I've rolled with him, and he's a beast.
Yeah, right. I think I saw
but
him
the friendliest person you could ever become. What I like about the guys over there is that they're really like high level and really talented, and like they just they put their work in, they practice, they run real successful businesses, and they're bringing up like killer athletes and so on, but they're really down to earth and super friendly, always super friendly. I've never ever met anyone that I didn't like from 10th Planet, and that's we got like, I think Eddie said there's like 100 and over 170 schools worldwide.
Right.
Wow.
So, but I've never met anyone that has never been friendly. So I think that's a real good thing, and I think that also comes down to Eddie though, because Eddie's a lot of people ask me what Eddie's like, and I basically say, whatever you see on social media, that's Eddie.
Mm,
He
Yeah.
doesn't have a, he doesn't have like, this is me on social media, and this is me in real life.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
yeah. Well,
So,
because all
yeah.
clubs are so different, in convention, I don't know what to call the difference between in conventional BJJ, I've never seen two clubs run the same way, but I'm imagining that all of these 170 locations are doing exactly the same syllabus, running their classes exactly the same way, like a franchise or a system versus a bunch of people who all have their own flavor. There's this diversity versus this production system at 10th Planet is what I'm imagining. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's more, it's a system. So, not everyone runs the school like exactly the same. Like I don't run the school exactly like Eddie does or other schools do. But I try to take like majority of it, still the sort of same.
Okay.
And then I might just change a couple of things to, because the way the Los Angeles works to how we work here in Australia is completely different. Over there they can start classes really late and finish late because the lifestyle is different to here. But if I finish over there, like the advanced class starts at 8:30 p.m.
Right.
and doesn't finish until like 10:30, 11 at night.
Wow.
But if I did that here,
Past my
if I did that here, no one's
Yeah,
gonna rock
those
out.
students, no, yeah.
So a couple of things have to change. But we try to keep I think most schools try to keep the system sort of alive in their school. And they obviously just put their own flavor to it. But yeah, I think that's why when you see 10th Planet people, a lot of like even though they're trying to different academies, a lot of it's still sort of similar because of that whole sharing of the system. Yeah.
And did you say, Josh, that it's been 10 years now that South Melbourne's been around?
South Melbourne, yeah. When I first started, I started in 2011, and it was 10th Planet Sunshine.
Okay.
I was there for like 22 months, but the school wasn't going too well. And then we moved to South Melbourne, and I've been here for 10 years now.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And what did that location difference do? Like, was it chalk and cheese? Like all of a sudden people just started coming, or was it still a massive grind to get going? I mean, people talk about how hard it is to own your own club,
Yeah, look, I opened a school as a purple belt, which now that I think about it, probably not the smartest thing to do.
Oh, but that was in 2013. You could, I suppose. There wasn't a lot of black belts around back then.
No, there wasn't. So I opened up as a purple, and then in Sunshine it was going okay, but just it was around the time it was like 2011, 2012 when the Australian economy wasn't doing the best, and it looked like we might go into a recession and all this sort of thing. So I had to make a choice what to do, and the opportunity came up for here in South Melbourne, and I was sharing with some pro wrestling like academy. So I went and joined with them for a bit, and then I kind of did enough to have my own. But I'll be honest with you, it was very hard. I was working full time still. So I was doing my 40 hours a week, and then I'd be teaching another 20 hours a week. So I was doing like, say 60 hours a week or more. And I did that for about 4 years. And then I just bit the bullet and I said, I'm going to quit the full-time job and just dedicate time into the school. And that's going to start to grow.
Amazing.
Trying to do both was a bit hard. And I'll be honest with you, I think it really picked up more once I got my brown belt. Once I got my brown, it's like it picked up a bit more. Maybe the energy in the room changed. I'm not sure what it was, but it picked up more. And then we just started to grow. And then, now we're good sort of thing. But, it took that, I think, to sort of grow. And obviously having the right staff and, once Laura also got involved in the club too, made a huge difference. So, having a partner that supports you also makes a huge difference for the school.
Every area of life, man. Having a partner supports you is highly
but not
underrated.
only like emotionally wise or at home, but I mean like helping you in the business as well is a huge thing. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think our school would be as successful if I didn't have her support and have her as part with me running the club. So I think that what made a huge difference. But in the beginning, it was very tough. There was multiple times where I remember thinking I've got to quit. I've got to close the school. And I had to say this, but having tears down my face because my dream was
wow, man,
coming to an end, sort of thing.
That's why we have this show, though, to share these sorts of stories, because we want to get the real face of jiu-jitsu out there, and that's amazing people like you, brother. It really is. Thank you so much for today.
No, not a problem, man. It's just but I'm not saying like people can't do it. Of course you can do it, but it's just be ready to put in work. That's all.
Yeah. It's not going to be easy necessarily. Yeah, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like jiu-jitsu in general, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty
Not
much.
easy.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
It will
just show
keep
you
you
got
humble.
passion, you know?
Jiu-jitsu will keep you humble at all costs.
Yeah.
I've discovered.
I think the biggest thing is for people to show that you got passion, you got compassion as well, because you got to show compassion, respect, and just be you on the mat as an instructor or as a head coach. And I think if the person comes and doesn't join, it's not a bad thing. It's just it weren't suitable for you or the club. But then I'm sure they'll be happy somewhere else, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You attract what you put out. So
That's
So
right.
true.
That's
Just
a really good
quickly,
place
just
to
quickly.
end it, I think. Oh,
It is,
you wanna say
except my
something?
favorite move that I've ever seen of 10th Planet stuff is the dead orchard. It's like this double
Oh, yeah.
arm in triangle thing, right? I saw the
Yeah.
boogeyman do it. What's your favorite 10th Planet move, man?
the carney,
And the carney.
the
What's
carney,
that?
the carney is basically like an omoplata.
Oh,
But I've set up from rubber guard.
nice.
Nice.
My leg,
All right.
I have my leg
So
all the way
that's
up
it.
here, and then I put it past your face, and I put my other leg in between your legs so you can't roll. I'm a huge fan of the carney.
Awesome. I'll go look it up,
That-
brother.
Yeah.
That's a better place to finish up. Thank you so much, Josh. We'll have this
No
out
worries,
in a
guys.
couple
Thanks
of
for
weeks.
having me on. It's been it was great.
Yeah, if you could share it, that'll be help
Yeah.
grow our audience. And we look forward to seeing you on the mats.
Yep, not a problem. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Catch you later.
All right, see ya.